So next we have Grace Edwards Galabuzi.
Thank you very much, Marie. It's always tough going after David because he's so dynamic, and it's almost a letdown to have to speak after him. But I also should concede to something else, which is that in a room full of lawyers, my competency to deal with the Charter of Rights is severely diminished. If it's my class, it's a different matter altogether. So I will stick to some of the social science around issues of economic inequality that I was asked to speak to. So thank you very much, and I also want to both pay tribute to the Metro Toronto Chinese Southeast Asian Legal Clinic for the work that they've done over the 25 years that they've been in existence, and we hope both that they will be here for many more years and that Evie will not become a judge. We've been fighting a rearguard battle with the judiciary around that issue. We still need her here. I also want to pay a quick tribute to Charles Roach, who's very much like David Lepofsky in terms of the commitment to struggles of disadvantaged and oppressed peoples. Charles Roach passed away a couple of weeks ago, and he will be dearly missed in that he represented what was best among us in that struggle. But I want to move on to paying another tribute, and the tribute really is in relation to the topic I want to talk about today, and that tribute is to Occupy Toronto. Occupy Toronto, some of you who have been paying attention over the last years, started this very day a year ago. And I think that in some ways they captured the imagination of the very people we have been trying to get across to the need to focus on the issue of economic inequality, income inequality, and social inequality in this city. And they framed it fairly effectively by talking about the 1% versus the 99%. And I think that in many ways has changed the conversation in this city and in the country, and I would say probably around the world with regard to the issues of the disproportionate distribution of income, and particularly the gains of productivity and wealth creation in this society. So in the few moments I have, I want to talk about why we are particularly concerned about inequality, particularly concerned about income inequality. I want to suggest that we're concerned about inequality because it determines opportunity, access to opportunity, not just for this generation, but across generations. Inequality affects both the upward mobility of people in our society, but perhaps even more importantly, it affects the capacity of the community or the society to optimize its own human resources and thus its economy and social development of that society. In particular, the groups that are disadvantaged by this process, whether it's a 99% or in the case of the work that I do, the racialized populations, what this means is that we are likely to have intergenerational impacts and effects that leave our society the poorer. In fact, the problem with regard to the issues of low wages and frequent unemployment and underemployment is that it triggers disruption of the virtuous cycle, and it sets in a vicious cycle that captures both various generations, across generations, but also people in our society. We know now, we do have enough research to suggest that our society has become progressively unequal over the last 30 years that the Charter of Rights and Freedom has been in place. I'm not suggesting that the Charter of Rights is responsible. I'm not suggesting a causal connection between the Charter of Rights and this progressive inequality. I would suggest that progressive inequality has had to do with neoliberalism, which is another conversation for another time. It just so happens that these two processes have been in place at the same time. One of the perhaps most dramatic expressions of this inequality is contained in a report that was released recently. This is in the United States. it talks about in the year 2009-2010, 93% of the income gains in the economy went to the top 1%. 93% went to the top 1%. And we might say that that has nothing to do with us. The Canadian patterns are different. But a report by Suez and Veal, which was released last year, shows that in the Canadian context, similar patterns do obtain. The top 5%, the top 5% in the Canadian context over that period of time took about 29% of all the income of all the income gains. No, the top 5% took about 29% of the wealth by the year 2000. So I think that it's important for us to try and confront the issue of income inequality in the Canadian context, because the continuing concentration of wealth in the hands of fewer and fewer people means that we're disrupting the virtuous cycle of economic development. In fact, we're getting to the point where, as Marx told us, I don't know whether people can still quote Marx in this moment, Marx talked about capitalism containing the seeds of its own destruction. And in many ways, this is where we are headed, because that concentration of wealth in fewer and fewer hands cuts off the pathways. It takes away the ladder from the broader population to engage in broader economic expansion. Inclusive economic systems are more dynamic. They tend to increase and expand the opportunities for many in the society and lead to the possibility of expanded income generation and redistribution. The alternative to that, in many ways, is the closing in the restriction of opportunity to fewer and fewer people, but in most cases, the privileged people. So let me just spend a bit of time talking about what I see to be the situation within the Canadian context.